All right, so let's take all the things that we've been learning about JavaScript, right? How to uh, implement functions and parameterize them and handle rendering and navigation, location, parameters, and whatnot, right? And let's revisit the Canvas implementation that we have so far, right? And so let's make it a little more data driven. Right now, the implementation is fairly static, right? So that if you navigate from the dashboard to a course, right? It's always the same course, right? So let's make that a little bit more dynamic so that we can use maybe a data structure that contains a set of like an array of courses, right? All individually identified by a unique identifier, right? Unique ID. And so that when you click, right, on a course, it'll navigate to the correct course, right? First, we'll need to perhaps render dynamically all the courses in the dashboard, right? And then, handle the navigation to each individual course, right? So let's revisit. Let's see what we've got so far. So currently we have this implementation of the Canvas. So this is the entry point to our Canvas application. Let's take a look at it real quick. Right, if we go to Canvas, this is the default navigation is that it kicks us into the dashboard, right? And right now, the implementation is that if I click on this, right, it'll always navigate to this one home screen, right, that renders the same set of modules, even if I navigate to a different course, right? Actually, they're all the same, right? So instead, what we're going to do is that we're going to create a data structure, an array that contains all these courses, right, and render this dynamically. Okay. So let's the entry point to our Canvas application is the Canvas component that can be found under Canvas. Here's the entry point index.tsx. And right now, the implementation is that it has a on the left side we have the Canvas navigation, right? This left hand side, right? And then on the right hand side, we have a flex, right, that splits this into a left and a right hand side and a sidebar on the left, right? And then the right hand side just fills the remaining portion of the screen. And then this is the routes that render either the dashboard or the courses or any other piece of content, right? Here, maybe it's a little more farther implemented than ours. So let's see. I guess this is one of the few things that are missing. Let me put that in there. Let's see the routes. So let me put that in there. Save that like that. And so now a calendar just displays calendar, just a placeholder for the calendar inbox, right? Account, and we'll come back to those portions a little later, right? And in particular, account to be able to log in and things like that, and identify ourselves and edit our profile information. But in courses right now, there's nothing there, right? So actually, one particular thing that we could do is to, if you navigate to courses and there's nothing there, it just kicks you back to the dashboard. That would be a nice thing to do. So anyway, so we have that. And when you click on a course, right, you navigate to the courses here, right? And then the courses then contains two things, right? It contains the courses navigation, right? That you have home. You can navigate to modules or the assignments, right? And then you have a couple other placeholders like the quizzes, Zoom, grades, Piazza, right? And then you're responsible for implementing the assignments on your own, right? So one of the things that we're going to do is that when you navigate here, one of the things that we have is that this courses is always the same, right? And right now it's just hard coded. So how do we do that, right? First, we want to dynamically render all the courses, and then when we click on a course, we want to be able to see the content specific to that course that we clicked on, right? So let's see how we do that, right? So first of all, let's play around with some dynamic content, right? Let's do a simple one. Let's see. So let's try and generalize this implementation of this Canvas Canvas implementation, Canvas navigation, right? Let's go in there. Right now, it's what? it's implemented as a hard-coded list of hyperlinks, basically, right? And so whenever you find yourself like in any software engineering effort, right, and you find yourself that there's a lot of the same thing over and over and over, right, that should immediately put in question, wait a minute, is there a more generic, a more generalized algorithm that could do the same thing, right? That maybe can take care of the things that are always the same, right? And so I can focus only on the parts that are different, right? I can optimize that, right? So here's an alternative implementation: is that instead of having these hyperlinks over and over and over, right? We could have maybe an array, right? We could have an array here that declares the hyperlinks. The labels are different for the dashboard, cores, the calendar, the inbox, the labs, right? And then these are the paths, right, that you would navigate, right? So for each one of these, you should always identify, well, what is different? Well, what's different is the labels, courses, dashboard, blah, 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 right? Also, what's different is these hyperlinks is different, right? But everything else, right? The class names are the same, right? Well, these are different, right? The icons. So again, we can have the icons here, right? As a parameter, so an array of those. And I also notice that right now it's we only have we can click on these. It navigates, right? It navigates, but it doesn't highlight. Right? It doesn't highlight. Okay, even though presumably we have enough information up here to be able to determine based on the location to highlight these guys, right? So we don't know how to do that. Right now, it's always this one is highlighted. So we want to generalize that too, right? So how do we do that? So here's an alternative, right? So we're going to first grab the path name. We're going to grab the path so that we know where we are, and we have to import this. So let's import. And we can display the URL somewhere. Let's see, where can we display it? Let's make this a little smaller. 100. There we go. Let's see, where can I display it? Can I display it in here? The path name. Can I display it? Oh, okay. It's over here, but it's in black, right? So maybe we can change the color a little bit, and we can change the style, right, to be the color to be white, so we can see it. There it is, right? So there's the path, which is basically this up here. It's this right here. See that? So if I click on calendar, it'll be /canvas/calendar/canvas/calendar. So we have that information. Perfect. And we could, right, revisit each one of these class names, right? And then notice that right now we only have the dashboard as highlighted as background white. See that? So we could convert these into an expression, right, that turns it into white if the path matches this, right? If it matches that, right? If it's dashboard, right? If it matches this, then we would turn this white, right? Or if it doesn't match, we would turn it black, right? So we could absolutely do that, right, individually. But instead of doing it over and over in each one of them, let's try to make an array that can take care of this, right? A generic solution. So let's create an array. So let's create an array, right, and put in there all these. Let's see, all these that we have been importing, all these icons. They're right there, right? Right, all of these. And then what we can do, right, is just iterate over this array and render this, right? Now, not everything is generalizable. So for instance, the first one, the one that navigates to Northeastern, Well, that one is kind of special, right? It's kind of like its own thing. It behaves differently than the others. Like for instance, we're not going to highlight it, right? We have this northeastern. Oh, actually, we don't have it. I don't have it here. Uh, but if you click on it, it's not like you're going to highlight it because you're just going to go away, right? You're going to go to a different screen, right? So that one is we can leave alone and have it as a special case, right? So actually, I don't have it. So let me copy it here, right, and put it as the first one. That's this first hyperlink over here. And I don't have the image. I never downloaded the image. So let me do that. You can download the image. I think, did I give you that image? That might have been in the prior assignment. Let me download that image. So let's go to A2, right, and look for NEU, Northeastern. No, did I give you that? Did I not give you that? Download a sample file. I thought I gave it to you. Oh, there it is, Northeastern. The brand center. And you can download the image. I could have sworn I downloaded it. Let's see. Is it in public images? I guess not. Okay. And so let's download the this image downloads. And let's download this right here, PNG. And download. Let's close that. And it should be in the downloads file. New. There it is. So it's downloads. I'm going to rename it. So I'm going to move it over to my images. And I'm going to rename it NU, that PNG. Right? And then in the navigation, it's images NU PNG. There it is, right? So I have my image there. Perfect. Okay. And so now if I click on it, right, it just opens up a different screen, right? So there's no point if coming in here and just highlighting it, right? Because we're not going to say, oh, we are in that screen, right? It's just opened up in a different tab, right? So we're going to treat that all by itself. Right? Also notice that we are using this target blank, which allows us to open up in a new tab as opposed to replacing our current content, right? So we don't want to navigate, always want to stay here. So blank is just going to open up in a different screen. Okay. But all the other ones, right? This account and dashboard and courses and calendar and inbox, all those could be generalized, right? So here I'm giving you an alternative on how to so the account also is somewhat special, right? The account is somewhat special because the coloring is slightly different. The coloring is slightly different, right? This account, notice that all of them are typically red on black, right? Red on black, but the account is not. The account is slightly different, so it doesn't fall into this generalization, right? It's always white on black, right? And then when we highlight it, right, it changes to be, I think, red on white. Okay, but all the other ones will behave the same, right? It's when it's not highlighted, right? It's red on black, and when it's highlighted, it's red on white. Okay, so to generalize this, we're going to create an iteration here where we're going to iterate over the links, right? Not the account. Let's leave the account alone for a second, right? So here under the account, right? Right, we're going to take the array of links. We're going to take the array of links. We're going to iterate over it, and also instead of using the raw hyperlink, right, elements, we're going to use a higher level component called the link component. That is comes with the route library that we're using. This renders as a hyperlink, like an anchor in the DOM, right? It renders like hyperlink, but it's a high level. It wraps around the hyperlink, right? And then instead of an href, right, it uses the to. The to automatically appends this hash, right? So that you don't need to use the hash tag, right? It automatically knows that it's inside of a single page application, right? And it adds the hash in front of it, right? Other than that, it behaves just like a hyperlink, right? So let's save that. Let's save that. And there it is. So there's our dashboard, courses, calendar, inbox, and labs, right? But now notice that as I click on it, it doesn't work. Wait a minute. What are we missing here? Calendar. Oh yeah, there it is. So inbox, well, labs, right? So we have a calendar, inbox. Notice that it highlights correctly, right? And changes the color scheme. So we no longer really need, even the dashboard works, right? So we no longer need the original versions of this. So we no longer need the dashboard, courses, calendar, inbox. So we're going to remove that. Even the labs can go, right? Right, so we have that implementation that I'm giving you, which is now better, right? We have inbox, calendar, plus the account is slightly different, So let's take care of the accounts all by itself. Here I am suggesting to use this code to replace the account. So here's the account. I'm just going to replace that. And if I click on the account, notice that it highlights correctly and puts it right on white, right? But when it's not highlighted, because it's the account, it's slightly different, right? I put it as a separate implementation. Right? So now you have a totally different new implementation, which is much general, and it allows you to create new links, right? So for instance, in the real Canvas, right, we have history, studio, comments, and you can add that very, very quickly, right? We can say, what was it? Let's put this next to here. So we have, history, studio. So this could be inbox, history. This is history, studio, right? Help. Right, so you can quickly create new ones. Obviously, would be different icons. You would have to find other icons, right? And this is already working, right? You can click on these. The URL is different, right? And you can navigate through these, and then provide the content and the component for each one of them. Make sense, right? So this allows you to create a more general implementation of it, data driven, so you can now just focus on what is the data that you need to render, right? And less on the actual templating, right, of the look and feel, right? It could be broken up into two different concerns, right? How is it that you render it? And the other concern is how is it that you represent it as a data structure? Okay, all right. All right, so let's do the same thing, right? The assignment asks you to do the same thing for the course navigator, right? To do that on your own, right? All right, so let's do one more thing. Here, I'm going to focus on doing the dashboard. So the dashboard is going to iterate over an array of courses, right? and I'm going to give you an array of courses. I'm going to provide you with one that has things like 20-something courses, right? And then you're going to iterate over them, and then instead of making them hard-coded like we have so far, right, it's these cards dynamically, right? So I'm giving you an array of courses. I'm going to download that, and let's see. And then I'm going to say the raw value. I'm going to save this locally. I'm going to say save onto my direct. Where is it located? I forget. We are. This is okay. SU1. All right. So this will be Canvas source web dev SU1. This one, and so we're going to go into source Canvas. So we're going to put it into a database, right? So we're going to just create a whole bunch of JSON files that we're going to include inside of a JavaScript file, right? That will make a little object that aggregates all the data into one single big database object. It's not really a database, right? It's just going to be just an object, right? Which we're going to call the database, right? And aggregates all this data into one place, right? And then we can extract the pieces that we need to render the courses, right? The modules, the assignments, right? The grades and whatnot, right? So in Canvas, let's create a new folder. We're going to say, call it database, right? And we're going to store in there a JSON file, JSON, and save that. And let's see if it worked. So in here, we have a new database directory, and there's our courses.json, right? That has a whole bunch of courses like rocket propulsion, aerodynamics, spacecraft design, organic chemistry, and so on and so forth. Okay. So now let's create an object, right, that kind of aggregates everything. Go in an index.ts, right? So under the database, we'll create a index.ts, which is going to aggregate all those into a single object. So for now, we only have just one object. We only have courses, right? Now, courses here, the syntax is doing this, right? Is declaring an object of the same name and the same value, which we can compact into just the name of the variable, right? So it's creating an object, it's exporting it, so I can import it, right, from somewhere else, give it the name that I want, right, and then I can then read the courses in that object, right? So now I can go back to my dashboard, right? I can import the courses from the database, destruct it, right, and now iterate over the DOM that I already have, right? And now convert each one of those divs that rendered those cards. Instead of having 20 of these cards, I'm just going to iterate over that array, right? So let's do that. Let's go to the dashboard here. Let's see, we have the dashboard and that index.tsx, right? Let's import the database that we have, right? Let's see, so we have here the courses. We're going to import them here. There it is. So there's the courses object, right? We're also going to need the link because we're going to create hyperlinks out of each card, right? So let's import that as well. There it is. And what we're going to do is that we're going to this is the row that contains all the courses, right? This row right here, this row contains all the courses. So here's one of them. There's another course, right? So we have all these courses, right? We have all these courses. We have a whole bunch of them, right? And so most of them we're just going to throw away, right? We're just going to keep just one that we're going to use kind of like a template. We're going to use one of these as a template. So I'm going to get rid of most of these. Let's see, the dashboard. So I'm going to get rid of most of them. We're going to just keep one of them. We're going to use that as a template. So we have just that one. Perfect. So what we're going to do is that we're going to iterate over this, right? We're going to wrap this as the output of an iteration, right? So this is going to be the output, right, of an expression, right? And the expression is that we're going to iterate over the courses, right? We're going to say courses, right? Map, right? That is going to take each one of the courses, each one of the cores, right? And it's going to render this expression like that. Okay, there it is, right? It took that as a template, and now it's just copying and pasting it every single time, right? So now we have how many? Well, as many are as in the course. Now, obviously, they all look the same. They all say the same thing, right? But we can change that, right? Because now we have the object, right? The object, the course object in there, right? And the course object has the title of the course, right? And so for instance, instead of this being hard-coded in there, we can see what the values are in the course. We can see what's in there, right? So we have the name. We want to render the name. So we can say, instead of hard-coding this here, we can say, take the course object in the iteration, right? And just take the name here. We can say course.name. Save that. And there we have it. Notice that now, right, each one has a different name, right? Rocket propulsion, aerodynamics, space design, blah, blah, blah. All of them are different. Make sense, right? Also, notice that if you hover over this, right, they all have the same hyperlink, the same ID. Like if I click on this, it has the ID 1, 2, 3, 4, right? But if I click on this one, it also has 1, 2, 3, 4 because the hyperlink here is hard-coded, right? It's just hard-coded. So instead, right, we can make this an expression, right? We can make this an expression and actually, right, this could be an expression. So this could be a template string, right? And so I can embed in here the actual ID of the course, right? Which it's this one, the underscore ID. Right? So I can put here an expression like that. You can say that this is the course dot underscore ID. See that? So now, right, if we go back to the dashboard, if I click on this, notice that the ID now is RS101. See that? Right, if I go back and I click on this one, the ID is RS103. Right, so I am encoding information in the path that in the courses component, I could extract that information and say, ooh, I can go fetch the actual name of the course, right? Or I can say, ooh, with that ID, I could maybe look up what are the modules for this course, right? And then render those modules or those assignments or those quizzes and whatnot, okay? Actually, let me remove this label there in the courses navigation that I put in there. This was only just for demonstration purposes. Yeah, there we go. So this is looking a little better, right? Let's see. Let's go back to the board. Let's see what other things I'm suggesting here. Another thing I'm suggesting to do is that to wrap instead of having a hyperlink in here, this hyperlink right there, to instead, right, wrap the whole card as a link, so that instead of having to click on just the title, right, we can make the whole card clickable, so that if you click on the anywhere, right, it'll navigate to the same course, right? So here here I am. Right in the dashboard course column. So dashboard in here, right? Let's close that up and let's put the link above like that, and let's close it afterwards. So let's close the link right there. Perfect, right? So now the whole thing is clickable. See that? Anywhere I hover, right? I can navigate. So even if I click on this corner, it navigates, right? Click and it navigates. So I no longer really need the inner link, right, that I had here in here, right? This hyperlink, I really don't need it anymore, right? I can just remove that, right? I can remove that. Right? Although I might want to keep the decoration. I might want the color, I might want the font weight. So probably I might, how did I do it? Probably I used maybe a span. Yeah, I use a span, right? So let me just keep that. right? So instead of a hyperlink, right, this is just going to be a span. And I'm just keeping the same styling, right? The color and the font weight. Okay. What else? I added some little rounding here, right? So that instead of this being, pointy and whatnot, I'm adding that to the card. So this card here, I'm just adding some roundedness. See, that's a little rounded here, right? And what else? Right, the description here, right? Notice that we are just having it's hard coded. They all say full stack software developer, full stack software developer, blah blah blah. But in the data, right, in the course JSON, we have a description, right? So we could render that instead, right? So this instead of this being hard coded, we can say course dot description, right? Now, some of the description is too long, kind of very verbose, right? And so we could maybe hard code a maximum height, right, so that it doesn't overwhelm the content. And maybe we could show it maybe when you just hover over it, maybe as a tooltip or something, right? So I did add some styling that limits the height of the paragraph, right? So let me do that, and there it is. So I only made it two rows high. Okay. What else? Also, the button is also clickable, but it's irrelevant. This button is kind of irrelevant since the whole thing is clickable, right? So if you want to change that a little bit, you can as well. The core screen for the core screen here, the name right now is hard coded, right? So if I navigate, regardless of which one I click, right, it always shows course name, the same course name. But because we have the ID now, right, in the URL, we could extract that ID by its name, right, which is, I think, a CID, we called it, right? And then we can use that to look up the course from the same database courses, right? And we find it by ID, and then extract the name and actually display the title, right? So we can take a look at the courses and re-implement that. So let's go to courses index, right? So instead of having this hard coded, we can extract the same courses from the same database, right? We can extract the ID of the course using params, right? And we need to import the params, use params. Now the CID can be used for us to look up the course by its primary key. Now we have the course. So now we can just display here the name of the course, right? We can say display, course.name. Course.name. We might need to make sure that it's defined. Yeah, we won't actually render it unless it's defined. Yeah, so notice that this is this AND operator saying that if this is defined, if it's not zero or null or undefined or empty string or it's something, right? And then we're ANDing it, then this only renders if this is different than null, right? Because this returns something other than null or something, right? So this will only render if this is defined, okay? So there it is, organic chemistry. If I go back to dashboard, right, if I click on this is rocket propulsion, if I click on this one is aerodynamics, and so on and so forth. I am adding this little sandwich icon in front of it, right? So let me add that too, but probably you might have done that in the prior assignment, maybe, I don't know. I'm also changing the color to be danger, or red, right? So let's add that like that. We have to import that, right? We have this little icon here, which incidentally in the Kanbas application, when you click on that, right, it hides and shows the this courses navigation sidebar, which we'll learn how to do that a little later. Okay. We also implement the breadcrumb, which is this little a blurb here that shows you where you are in the navigation, right? Home, modules, whatnot, right? So let's implement this breadcrumb in the breadcrumb using the path name. Right? Using the path name, we can extract the location, and using the path name, look at the the position and extract the whatever you're navigating. So here you have home. If you click here, it becomes modules. If we click here, it becomes piazza. So we could grab this path name, grab that last piece here, right, and then use it to append it to the correct location, the correct here at the end here with the breadcrumb at the end, right? So yeah, so let's do that. Wait, why is this rocket propulsion modules? Oh, notice that the home, the course navigation, right, is not keeping the ID encoded in the URL. See that? It becomes like this bogus 1234 that it's hard coded, right? So we would need to fix that, and I think the assignment asks you to re-implement the course navigation, right, on your own, I believe. And one of the things you need to do is to make sure that it keeps that ID encoded, right, in each one of these links, right? Otherwise, notice that I navigate, I don't have the link anymore, and it doesn't find the course, so it can't render the title, right? So anyway, yeah, that's driving me nuts. Do I? Yeah, it does ask you to re-implement it, right? And so, to highlight it, I'm going to just re-implement at least the part that keeps that rendered, right? So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do the parameters and the courses and the database, right? So let me go to course navigation and do the same thing here. Grab the ID, import the ID, right? And we'll need to find the courses from the database, right? And once we have the course, and okay, we're using the name course twice. Let's see, what is it complaining about? Module. Oh, maybe we have to go up one. Oh, there we go. So now that we have the courses and we have the ID, we can re-implement this. So let me quickly re-implement this as a like this, like that, right? And this is what it's a course dot ID, right? Like that. And same thing with this one, but this would be modules. So this would be modules, right? And this would be, I'm not going to do piazza. You are going to do assignments, so I'm going to do that in assignments. So now, if I go back to dashboard, rocket propulsion, if I click on modules, notice that it keeps the ID there. See that? And I go to assignments, it keeps the ID, right? And so it's used, so it doesn't generate an ID that doesn't exist, right? It was hard coded, before we had any of this dynamic, right? So anyway, you re-implement this so that it highlights correctly and also uses an array, right? I give you the array, right? And so you can re-implement this course navigation, right, using that array. Right? So you're going to declare the links here, right? And so instead of this being a hard-coded list of array of links, you're going to iterate over these links, right? And you're going to re-render this dynamically. Okay, all right. Yeah, but let's go back to the breadcrumb, right? And we can use the location, right, the path name in the courses, right? Back to the courses, we can grab the location from the router, right? Let's implement that. Let's there it is from the location, and then the path name we can extract with the path name we can extract right, modules, we can extract this name right here, right, or assignments. We can extract that and just append it, right, append it at the end, right? So let's do that. This greater than, it's the greater than sign. Then I'm going to take the path name. I'm going to split it on slash, right? Meaning I'm going to take all this and I'm going to convert that into an array of strings, right? And I'm going to split it by the slashes, right? And then, so this is going to be one in position 0, 1, 2, 3, right? Or 4, I don't know, right? And then I'm going to take that position, that string, right? I'm just going to append it, right? So let's do that. So I'm going to grab this here, right? And then I'm just going to append it here like that. There it is, the assignments. So this is kind of like a little visual aid, kind of telling you where you are in the hierarchy of the data of the website. Also, typically these would be hyperlinks, so they will allow you to, if you have a very long breadcrumb, you could navigate back. Right, it's like a stack, right, keeping track of the branch by which you have navigated through into your application. Right. So if I click on modules, this becomes modules, home, modules, assignment, right, and it tells you where you are in your application, right? Yeah, so do the course navigation. Now, what about modules? Right now, right, if I go to modules, this is hard-coded, right? It's always showing the same modules, but instead what we'd like to be able to do is that, if I go to rocket propulsion, I would see modules for rocket propulsion, right? But if I go to aerodynamics, I would see modules for aerodynamics, right? And so I'm giving you a sample set of data for different modules for different courses, right? So I'm going to download this. So save, and this one's going to be modules dot JSON, right? And then inside my database, I'm going to include that in the index. We're going to import those modules. So I'm going to import modules from modules, right? And I'm going to include them here, right? So now in the modules component, right, I can import the modules. I can import the courses, find the ID of the course that is being selected, and then find the modules for that course, because these modules tell me what course these modules belong to, right? So I have a whole mixture of modules for different courses. So for instance, we have here modules for this course, RS 101. Here's another module for the same course. Here's another module for the same course. But then for another course, RS 102, right? The modules for RS 103, right? So I have at most about 3 modules for each course. Now, for the introduction to rocket propulsion, I also have a couple of lessons, right, for each module, right, that I just made up, right? And they're a nested array, right, of module objects, right? So that if I'm rendering that particular module, I'll also render the lessons within that module, right? So these are the modules. So it's one module, another module, right? But then within each module, there's a whole bunch of lessons. Okay, so let's do that, right? So I believe I give you how you would go about that, right? That you would add modules to the database, not really database, right? And you would load the modules from the database, right? And we're going to parse the ID of the course from the path, right? So in the modules component, modules here, right? We're going to, import the params. We're going to parse the ID of the course, right? And with that course, we're going to look for the modules for that course, based on the ID of the course, right? So in here, we can, parse out the ID of the course, right, from the parameters, and then find what the modules are, in that course. Once we have that, we can take the HTML that we use to render our courses. Let's see. So I think it's this one. See that? I think that's the first module here, and that's the second module, right? So I'm just gonna, just remove that second module here, I'm just going to keep that one module as my little template, right? And what I'm going to do is that within the UL, right, I'm going to iterate over my array of courses, right? And that's going to be my outputs, right? And this whole thing is going to be an expression, right? And that expression is going to be the iteration over the course modules. I'm going to say course modules map, and I'm going to say this is the module, right? Like that, and it's going to render, right, that line item like that, right? So I'm going to save that, and there it is. So we have 3 modules, 1, 2, and 3, and right now they all look the same, right? Because right, I haven't specified the actual content of the module, right? But now if I look at the content of the module, we see that there's a name, right? Now notice that the modules that I'm showing are only the modules for that particular course, right? Although right now they all look the same. So let's list the actual name of the module, right? So for instance, instead of saying learning week 1, right? This is the name of the module. This would be module that name, and now this becomes fundamentals of aerodynamics, subsonic and supersonic flow, and aerodynamics and heating. Now, if I go to another course like this one, rocket propulsion, notice that I have a completely different set of modules, right? Introduction to rocket propulsion, fuel and combustion, blah, 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 nozzle and design, okay? So yeah, so now I definitely have different modules for different courses, right? And are all hard-coded, but we could right say that instead of having this hard-coded, this would be what? This would be, right, the iteration of the lessons within the modules, if there are any, right? So what we could do is say, okay, well, I'm going to render these lessons. I'm going to render these lessons only, actually, the whole list, this whole list, right? I'm going to render it only if the module has any lessons, right? And like that, right? Save that. So only if the module has lessons, then I'm going to render the list. And if I do have lessons, well, I'm going to render them. I'm going to just use one of these as my template, right? Just one. And so this is going to be the output, right, of an expression, right, which is going to be the mapping of the module lessons. I'm going to map over them, right? And so this is the lesson object, which is going to render that content. And there it is, right? And right now they'll say learning objectives, but they do have 3 lessons each, and the lessons are, each lesson has a name, right? So this would be, instead of learning objectives, this would be lesson name. Save that, and there it is, right? So this is history of rocketry, right? Rocket propulsion fundamentals, blah blah blah, rocket fuel, right? But if I go to thermodynamics, there are no lessons there. I don't have any lessons, right? But I guess we could add a few. So for instance, so here in aerodynamics, maybe we can use a ChatGPT to add a couple of lessons, right? There we go. See, we're adding here. We can add a few more lessons for subsonic flow, supersonic flow, right? And we have one more here, maybe lessons for this. There we go. So these are lessons for thermodynamics, fundamental aerodynamics, right? But if you go to a different course, right, rocket propulsion, you have a completely different set of lessons, right? That makes sense. Yeah. So having practiced this, right, having a chance for me to show you, right, how to do this, how to do it data-driven, how to parse the URL, how to fetch the modules, how to fetch the lessons, right, whether you render them or not render them. And so now you're being asked, right, to, on your own, right, do the same thing for the assignments, right, which you wrote about them in the prior assignment, right? I'm giving you a list of assignments, right, that for each one of the courses. So for instance, for course 1, right? You have for this course, you have these 3 assignments, right? You have these 3 assignments. And then for the course RS 102, right, you have these other 3 assignments, right? So you have like 3 assignments per course, right? So on your own, you're going to render this, right? So that if you go to course 1, you list these assignments. But if you go to course 2, you list a different set of assignments, okay? Then once you have that in place, right, you're going to click on the assignments, and it's going to encode in the URL the ID of the assignment. Once you have the ID of the assignment, and you navigate to that particular, to edit that assignment, you would display the title of the assignment, only the name of the assignment, because that's the only thing I give you. I only give you the title of the assignment. So you're going to display here the name of the assignment. I don't give you the description. I don't give you the points. I don't give you anything like that. You can leave that hard-coded for now, right? Later on, we'll come back and play around with that some more, right? But right now, the only data that I give you is the name. If you want and create your own for points and things like that, just go ahead, but it's not required. And then also on your own, you're going to revisit the grade screen that you implemented in the prior assignment, right? Where you hard-coded a table with users, and then the assignments, and then all the grades that they got, right? So I'm giving you a list of users. So these are a list of users. Tony Stark, Bruce Wayne, Steve Rogers, right? A whole bunch of users, right? And so you're going to include that in your database, right? And then here I give you an enrollments table that says what users are enrolled in what course, right? So I think these are the IDs of the users. Yeah, see, these are the IDs of the users, right? The IDs of the users. And I'm saying, well, that particular user is enrolled in course RS 101, right? So these are 3 users that are enrolled in 101. This is 3 users that are enrolled in 102, and 3 users that are enrolled in 103, right? So if you go to the grades screen, right, for RS 101, you would see the grades of these 3 users, right? But if you go to a different course, you would see the grades of some other 3 users, and then some other 3 users, right? So that, and then you would fill the column of the users from the users table, right? And the assignments, right, for that course would be the courses, the assignments for that particular course. So the table now, the first column of users is dynamic, right, by the course, because you know which ones are enrolled in which. And then the list of assignments is also dynamic, right, in the grades table, because again, for each course you have different assignments. And finally, I gave you here a grades JSON, right, that says that this student in a particular assignment, they got a 90. Right? So that means that now as you're iterating over the grade screen, right, the table, and you're iterating over the user and the assignment, the actual object, the value that you're going to display, right, for the grade is, for a particular assignment, it has an ID, the student has an ID, right? So as you're iterating, from rows and columns, the ID of the user, of the student, you have the ID of the assignment, and then you're going to look up in this table what the grade to display on that particular column, that particular row. Okay. All right. Yes. So that is the assignment. I'm going to commit what I have so far. Feel free to use that and as your own, right, to get you going. Okay. All right. Do you have any questions on the assignment?
Hey, Professor, I have a quick question.
Yes. Sure.
I think that a few of the Like the first three classes you filled out the modules for in the JSON, should we go through and add modules for the other 18 courses, or are the first three good?
Oh no, no, yeah, you can just use the three that I gave you. I mean, you're welcome to add the other ones. ChatGPT can just add a whole bunch of them
All right.
randomly.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.